Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Todd. This is Todd. For today's recipe, I am making Salisbury steak. For this, you are going to need 500 grams of ground beef. I am using a 7327. You can use lean. You can use a leaner ground beef if you would prefer. I, however, kind of like the higher fat content. As the saying goes, fat equals flavor, and in this case, that is so true. You're going to need 35 grams of breadcrumbs. I am not sure on the imperial measurements, so I'm going to have to put that over the screen in editing. You're going to need 1 packet of beefy onion soup mix. You can use whatever brand you want. Don't have to be Lipton. You're going to need half a teaspoon of ground mustard. I don't have that out. I'm just going to use some mustard out of a bottle. You're going to need 1 large egg, 30 milliliters of Worcestershire. You're going to need some olive oil. I already got that in my pan over here, heating up on a medium-low. Then you're also going to need some butter to add into that oil. I am using an avocado oil. If you want to use olive oil, peanut oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you want to use. You're going to need 1 medium onion and 270 grams of sliced mushrooms. And I have that right here off in the back, already sliced and prepared. Then you're going to need 2 cloves of garlic, minced. I don't have any fresh garlic on hand right now, so I'm just going to use this. It will do. You're going to need 83 milliliters of red wine. I got that right there. You're going to need 750 milliliters of beef broth. I don't have beef broth. I don't use broth. I just use this. And what I do use, I typically make myself in can, and it is used within a month. So let's see. You're going to need 15 milliliters of Worcestershire, 15 milliliters of soy sauce. Those are actually the opposite, in the opposite way that I said it, but oh well. And 55 grams of ketchup. And I think I measured that out in milliliters. Doesn't really matter. Then you're going to need flour. 24 grams. I just used the shot glass here, filled it up, and called it good. I don't know exactly how much that is, so let's see. So I'm going to get started by getting some butter and adding that to my skillet. I actually have another one that's open, kind of got melted. I'm going to use that before I use that. So I am going to get this cut and add that to my skillet after I get this prepared. For this, I am going to grab my stand mixer bowl. Not that I need to use this, I can definitely use my hands. Let me get some of this pushed to the side. And one other thing you are going to need that is not part of the recipe, but I am adding it just to see if I like it. And that is a can of French onion condensed soup. And I'm adding that to the gravy, not the meat. So I'm going to grab my scissors here and open up my meat, as long as my egg don't roll off my counter. I'm going to just go ahead and add that in here like that. Throw the trash in the sink for right now. I'm going to go ahead and add in the egg, the Worcestershire. I'm going to rinse that out with a little water. There we go. And the breadcrumbs, I'm going to add those right in on top. I'm going to go take this to my stand mixer, get it all mixed up, and I will be right back. And one thing I did forget to add into that bowl was this. You're going to want to add this into your patty mix for your Salisbury steak. So before I forgot and mixed everything up, and just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, so I got my ground beef all mixed up, and now I'm going to grab a small rubber spatula and just clean my beater off. And another quick trick I've learned is if you want to shred some meat really fast, throw it in a blender. It makes quick work of it. And I won't use this beater in particular for that. I'll use my normal flat beater for that, as it lets the meat pass between the beater and the bowl and help shred it. So just something I've picked up recently, and I never really thought about it. But I'm going to just do this the last little bit here. There's that. Then I'm going to scrape my bowl. Make sure everything's kind of in one mass here. Set that aside now. Now I'm gonna just throw a piece of parchment down on my countertop just to help with cleanup. I hate rolled parchment. It never wants to stay put. And those sheets are waste kind of the same way, unless you get them in flat sheets, because if it's has perforation, or not perforations, but if it's folded or anything, it's just going to want to fold back up. So I'm going to just drop this out onto the parchment here. And I'm going to grab a glove, not that I need to. Put a glove on. Just because I cut myself earlier today. So I'm going to divide this up into about 4 individual steaks here, to the best that I can. But I am going to go ahead and form these into balls, just like this. Plop that back down on to my parchment. And these smell really good right now. You can really smell the Worcestershire. Alright, now that I got these in the balls, I'm going to flatten them down into patty shapes, and I'm going to make them oblong. You don't have to do this. You can keep them in regular patty shapes if you so want to. But I'm kind of wanting to keep with the traditional Salisbury steak shape. And just like that, oblong Salisbury steaks. And if you'd want to add some onion into these, on top of the dried onion that's in the soup mix, just do that. I'm going to cut a knob off of this butter, like so. And I'm going to drop that into my avocado oil I have on the stove. Kind of give that a little shake around. I'm going to switch my camera angle right quick. There you go. And I'm going to clean up real quick. Alright, that's melted enough. I want to add this in here before that butter starts to burn. So I'm going to go ahead and add that first one in. The second one. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have quite enough fat left over that I'm not going to need to add the extra butter for my roux. So, I probably won't need any extra butter, even though the recipe calls for it. I am going to go ahead and raise my heat to a medium-high from the medium-low I had it on. And I'm looking to cook these for about 3 minutes per side, and then I will remove them from the heat and get started on my gravy. So I will bring you back once that's all done in a couple of minutes. So another thing I actually just thought of, when I was shopping at Walmart today, I noticed they had a beefy mushroom, I think it was. I wish I would have picked one of those up, because I'm probably going to want to, I do want to try that instead of the beefy onion. I want to try the mushroom one. I think that would be really good in this. Maybe double my meat and everything else and add one beefy onion. Yeah, one beefy onion and then one of the beefy mushroom. I think that would be really good. Just going to keep cooking these. I'm looking for just a little bit of a crisp on the bottom side. You can notice around the edges here, the milk solids and the butter is starting to separate and everything, which is perfectly normal. If you have ghee on hand, which I do, I very rarely use actually. Okay, so I just flipped these, and that is what you're looking for in color on the top. I don't know if you can see that well. My phone screen right now is not the brightest. Let's see if I can adjust that mid-recording. And I can. So now I can see my screen. Okay, so you can definitely see that pretty well. I'm going to zoom in on that. So that is what you're looking for on color and crispification, if you want to say that. Go ahead and zoom that back out. So I'm going to cook the other side for a little bit, and then I'm going to take these out and put them on a plate and put those on the back burner, just on the plate. But yeah, I'm just going to finish that and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so these are good enough. I'm going to go ahead and just remove these from my pan here. Let's set those off on the back. Now I only need about 1 ounce of fat, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my mushrooms and onions here. And these are going to sweat off quite a bit of water, and that's going to help release the fond that's stuck to the bottom of the pan, which in return is going to add flavor to the dish. So, alright, there's that. And you're just going to cook these until they're tender, and I will bring you back at that time. Okay, so I got this cooked down to what I'm happy with. I'm not really looking to cook the mushrooms through. I still kind of want them to be kind of firm, but this is what I'm happy with. There still is some fond left on the bottom, but through cooking it will come off. I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 of my spoons here of garlic, I'm not sure how much that is, so I'm just going to say about 4 cloves. If you aren't a fan of garlic, make 6 or 7 if you like garlic. Now I'm going to just mix this around, saute for another couple of minutes. And once that is done, I will go ahead and add in the flour. Actually, while I'm at this stage, instead of adding the flour right now, I'm going to add in 3 spoonfuls of this, because I'm going to need about 3 cups of beef broth. And I don't salt my recipes when I use this, because this tends to be a little salty. So, and I don't really measure this, I just spoon it in. So at the end of the recipe, I'll taste it for salt. Kind of just work the spoon around to get the excess off. That's good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed in. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my flour. And I'm going to cook this for about a minute just to get the flour taste out of it. Now it's looking just a little too thick, so I'm going to grab that spoon I used earlier, if I don't throw it across the room, and add some of this oil that I took out. Just a couple spoons back in. And keep mixing this. Alright, so that's good at that point. I'm going to go ahead and run my water right quick to get it a little colder than what's in the pipes in the wall. Because one thing I've learned is adding a cold liquid to a brew like this pretty much ensures a lump-free gravy and or sauce. So. Alright, so I'm going to add in the 750 milliliters, which is around 3 cups. Into here, along with my wine. And you're going to want to just mix this in. And if you'd want to, exchange the spatula here for a whisk. Whisks always help. And it seems like I never can go a single time without when I'm making a gravy without splashing it everywhere. It's just inevitable with me. I'm just going to try and get that fond that's formed on the bottom released with this whisk. Alright, I think that's good enough for right now. Still just a little too hard on there. So I'm going to grab my dishcloth here and just clean my mess up. I know there's probably more back there, but alright, that feels pretty much clear. Feels like I got everything released off of there. So I'm going to go ahead and just push that back in. I'm going to add in the soy sauce. And Worcestershire. This ketchup, add that in. Then one last thing I've decided to add, a little bit of chipotle pepper. It's because I kind of like a little spicy kick. And I'm going to give this a stir. And get that ketchup in there incorporated. And I did realize before I got this far that I forgot to add in the mustard in the patties over there. So you will definitely want to make sure you add in the mustard. I guess that is my fault for not having it out on my counter. So I did not remember to add that in. And now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and use this to get the rest of that off of this spoon. And I will use this opportunity now to go ahead and taste it. Alright, that's tasting really good. I'm going to go ahead and add in this can right here of French onion soup as a little bit of an additional flavor bomb. Now, I don't know if I used enough flour in this, as I do got quite a bit of liquid here. If this don't come out thick enough for me, I will adjust the recipe and make sure to put that in editing over the screen when I mention the amount of flour. But this is starting to thicken up. Typically a sauce will not thicken up anymore in cooking once it starts to come to a simmer. So that right there is pretty much going to be your finished thickness. It will thicken up a little more as it cools off, but not really that much. So I'm going to let this come up to the simmer, see if I need to add a cornstarch slurry to get it any thicker. It is going to reduce some while it's here because I need to finish cooking the Salisbury steaks back there, which that's going to happen over about half an hour. So I think there's plenty of time for it to thicken, but if it don't, I will bring you back anyways. But I'm going to go ahead and just pause this and I will bring you back. Okay, so this just started coming up to a simmer and I've tasted it and adjusted the salt and everything previously off camera, But since this is just starting to come up to a simmer, I'm going to go ahead and add in the Salisbury steak. And that is perfect. Just the right amount of heat. For me at least, some people might think it's way too spicy. But I'm going to go ahead and just grab the Salisbury steak here. Just plop them in. And to help this thicken up, I'm going to leave this uncovered. And I will come back and check this periodically. And make sure it's not sticking and everything. Just kind of keep everything moving around in here. But this is going to take about another half hour or so. I'm going to lower my heat down to in between a medium low and medium. And I will bring you back when everything is done. Okay, so I am back now. This has been going probably 45 minutes. I had stuff I needed to do while this was cooking, so I'm giving this just another quick mix here. And it has definitely thickened up. I think once this cools down to a temperature that's suitable for consumption, that it will be plenty thick. So I'm not going to add any cornstarch slurry or anything to this. As you can see, the onions have not completely disintegrated. Mainly the ones that have were the ones that were in the soup that I added to the gravy. So I think this is good enough. I'm going to go ahead and just end this video right here. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you enjoy the content that I'm putting out, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for coming along with me on this journey of mine.